Hello everyone, welcome to the Spooky Noodles Podcast. Today we'll be discussing the Kappa. This yokai is my personal favorite because it is the most unique. There are creatures similar to Oni, Kitsune, and Kuchisake Onna, but none quite like Kappa. But anyways, what's so unique about this water-based yokai? Before we get into this episode, I'd highly recommend that you check out our episode on yokai if you have not already seen it. Yokai are a complicated entity, and having some knowledge about them would really help when covering specific examples of yokai such as Kappa. It will be linked in the show notes. As a reminder, yokai, being a Japanese term, are difficult to describe in the English language, but they align closest to our definition of a supernatural being. This would include things such as spirits, demons, and monsters. Kappa are anthropomorphic reptiles who are typically the size of small children, although they have the strength of grown men. They are frequently described as looking like reptilian monkeys. They have yellow or green scales and a turtle shell on their back. They travel with 4 legs and webbed feet. The most notable aspect of the Kappa is the bowl-shaped indent in its head. This is a very important part of the Kappa, but we'll get to why later. Another part of their head is the beautiful hair that they have. For those who couldn't tell, that was sarcasm. Their hairdo can only be described as a horizontally spiky version of a monk's bowl cut. Creepily, they have very long claws and beaks. With all these features, it's easy to see why someone might be terrified if they were to run into a Kappa. If you know what yokai are, you'll know exactly what part of the world the Kappa call home. For those of us who haven't been paying attention, which I will admit is likely my fault, these creatures live in Japan. Similar to La Llorona, Kappa can be found near almost any water source that is big enough for them to live in. A traditional Kappa encounter would go as follows. You're near a lake and you see something swimming in the water. First off, don't get in the water. Kappa are excellent swimmers who like to drown people. Stay on land. You have 3 options now. Hope you didn't interact with the Kappa is the first. This won't happen. Although Kappa can be mischievous, they are very polite and respectful. If the Kappa gets on land, bow before it, and it cannot help but bow back. Upon doing this, it will spill the water that is indented in its head. This will render the creature immobile. You can either leave it to die, or refill the Kappa's bowl. If you refill their bowl, they will remain forever indebted to you. The other way is a little less convenient, but it can be more thrill-inducing. If you happen to have a cucumber, toss that thing in the lake where the Kappa came from, and it'll go running right back. Kappa love cucumber. If you don't do either of these, you will be bit to death or drowned. Have fun. Drawing more parallels to La Llorona, Kappa were likely created as a tale to warn children about being careful when playing near the water. This makes sense when you take a look at who the Kappa primarily target. It should be noted that Kappa can actually be friendly as well. We're Spooky Noodles though, we're pessimists over here. The Kappa is viewed as a river deity in Japan. Offerings of cucumbers are often made to them in order to receive rewards. However, returning to the more frequent behaviors of Kappa, they are incredibly immature. They have a tendency to fart and cause mischief. If I could swim well, I might think I was one. Like many other yokai, Kappa have become very cute over the years. Older depictions of them are much more grotesque than they are nowadays. However, the legend is still pretty popular. Signs can still be found around lakes and other bodies of water that warn visitors of the Kappa's presence. Similar to a lot of their yokai, the Kappa are a big part of a lot of Japanese festivals and museums. There is a type of sushi named after the creature. Kappa maki is quite simple. It consists of seaweed, rice, and cucumber. My favorite pop culture Kappa is Kappin from Animal Crossing. The wiki says he's a turtle, but let's be real. If you enjoyed this analysis, please consider sticking around for more. Next Monday, we will be beginning our first month-long Spooky Noodles mini-series covering a super notable creepypasta. Our sources are linked in the show notes. If you've got any suggestions or tips for our future episodes, please contact us at our email spookynoodlespod@gmail.com or at our Twitter @spookynoodles. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. Make sure to keep your taste for horror alive by watching the next episode of Spooky Noodles on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or YouTube. Thank you for listening.